We all do it, or at least we think we do. Multitasking. I'm going to show you why multitasking can kill your productivity and show you a little test you can do to test how good you really are at multitasking. So first, what is multitasking? Well, it's the apparent human ability to perform more than one task and activity at the same time. When we multitask and we work on multiple things, giving us the feeling that we are being more productive, is this really true, or are we just kidding ourselves? In reality, humans cannot do two mentally demanding activities or tasks at the same time. What we're actually doing is task shifting, where we quickly shift our focus from one thing to another and back again. Now this creates the illusion that because we're doing multiple things, we're being more productive, but actually it takes just as long as if we did each task one at a time. So when you think you're multitasking, you aren't actually doing two tasks at the same time. What you're actually doing is just switching between them really quickly, so, well, you don't even notice. Now this process of switching actually takes longer and can also reduce the quality of our work, or we can even make mistakes because we're not giving our brain enough time to fully engage and focus on the sole task. But wait, there are some types of multitasking that you can do, which can increase productivity, and we'll come on to these shortly. Now when we want to be productive, and especially if the task or activity is perhaps creative or involves something more complex, to be the most productive at it, we should focus and only do that one thing at a time. Shall we try a quick test? Okay, this one is a visual test, and when it begins, I want you to count the number of red circles and blue triangles that you see on the screen. Are you ready? Okay, did you get that? Let's see the result. Now, did you spot the green square? Let's try another, and this time it's an audio test. Can we listen to two things at once and pay attention to both? So let's find out. Now this is best done if you're wearing headphones or earpods. Listen very carefully, you'll hear two stories. See if you can pick up on the facts in both of the stories. New York City is vibrant with one World Trade Center reaching a staggering 541 metres building at 310 If you stroll around, you'll find a staggering the River Thames flowing beneath bridges and tunnels crisscrossing the city. The Big Apple is home to over 8.4 million people. Buckingham Palace Liberty has greeted visitors for well over 135 and London itself, believe it or not, New York's history dates back to the early 1600s. Okay, so how did you do? How many of these facts can you recall? So how well did you do? Well, if you got all correct, then fantastic, you're a true multitasking genius. Give this video a like and let me know in the comments if you nailed these tests. For the majority though, well, maybe you got some of these right, but found it quite tricky to focus on two things at once. And that's because multitasking for the brain, well, it's not a natural skill. If we were to split out the questions just by counting one shape at a time or listening to one story at a time, then you'd probably get full marks. So I mentioned that there are some types of multitasking that we can do effectively. So let's say you're doing a workout. Well, at the same time, maybe you could listen to some music, which can actually help motivate and boost the productiveness of the workout. Or perhaps listen to a podcast or audiobook. Perhaps you have a desk at which you can stand up to work at. You could maybe get a treadmill and use that at the desk. You could boost your daily steps and get exercise whilst at the same time working on something else. Now with these types of multitasking, well, these can work because in reality, our brains really only focus primarily on one thing. In a workout, you don't need to think much to be lifting weights or running, so your body can automatically do these things without any active conscious effort. These automatic kind of passive tasks, well, they kind of rely on your procedural memory and could also include other activities like walking or typing or maybe playing a musical instrument. This means your brain can actually focus on a second task much more easily, such as the work you're doing or the audio you're listening to, so achieving a sense of successful multitasking. So let's get back to our attempts to multitask. Why can't we multitask with two active tasks? Well, our brain just isn't designed to do two things at once, and this is because of our brain's executive control processes. These processes take place at the front of the brain in the prefrontal cortex, which is the bit you're using right now to watch this video, and this is what's responsible for most of your control and decision-making abilities. So let's look a little deeper. Well, it's thought that our brains have two distinct phases called goal shifting and rule activation. So in the goal shifting phase, our brain focuses on task A instead of task B, one at a time. Then when it's in the rule activation phase, it focuses on turning off the rules it needs for task A and turning on the rules instead for task B. So as an example, if your brain is given a task to solve some maths questions and at the same time sort some shapes, first the brain will work on the maths, focusing on the rules for how to do maths calculations rather than the rules of choosing the shapes. So when you shift tasks, your brain has to shift goals from maths to shapes. Then it has to recall the rules for classifying those shapes. So your brain quickly goes through these tasks so quickly you barely notice it. Now that doesn't seem very long, but those delays whilst your brain keeps shifting all the time do add up. And studies have also shown that the more complicated or unfamiliar those tasks are, then the longer those delays are as well, and the more mistakes that you're going to make. So in the real world, well, those can have significant consequences. So for example, whilst we're driving and we answer a phone call, are we paying attention to the road? These delays can be enough to cause enough distraction that might cause an accident. So if we know and understand that active multitasking doesn't really work, why on earth do we keep doing it? Well, also at work is a release of dopamine. So each time we're switching tasks, our brain keeps releasing small amounts of dopamine. It kind of gives us a small sense of reward and accomplishment. And because that feels good, it encourages us to keep multitasking, even when we might in fact be doing the things less efficiently and with more errors. The brain keeps releasing dopamine, so we're basically caught in a dopamine trap. And another thing, that prefrontal cortex is easily distracted and excited by new things, so it makes multitasking even more tempting. So if you really want to be more productive, stop active multitasking and focus on one thing at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.